Welcome to Open Agenda Podcast with JustSai. Today's agenda and episode is called Pilot Introduction. And this is just a brief introduction of who I am, where I'm from. I'll go over that and then I'll go over, what the agenda is. So I'm from Brooklyn, New York, of course, in school down south in Charleston, South Carolina, residing in business entrepreneurship administration's major. Right now I'm going from a bachelor's degree or whatever, etc. Secondly, grew up in New York. Majority of my life shifted down south like these last 3 or so years, so not too bad. Today's agenda that we're going to be going over is family and friends, relationships and bonds, disagreeing and disrespect. Two topics that need to be talked about. I don't think a lot of people understand about these topics, but I think you should understand about these topics respectfully. We're going to go over the dating industry. My personal opinion, not experience, personal opinions, based on how I feel, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to go over. But I'm going to shout out to all the supporters that convinced me to come out here, start the podcast, do the work, get minded people on the show. So this is going to be the only episode released as of right now for 2025. So I appreciate those that are going to watch it. I don't know, hashtag me, do whatever you want to do. It doesn't really make a difference to me. But I will tell you that this show will have an initiative, and the purpose is to get people that are not even like-minded. If you are like-minded, come on the show. Feel free, to do what you have to do and how you want to do it. But the purpose is to have strong, intelligent, entitled debates. Debates are key in today's society and based on how we do a whole lot of stuff in today's world, especially when we go into politics. And I would love to have a political debate in politics, but But let's get to the dating industry. How is this going to work with the young folks? And I say to myself, I'd be like, I really try, but it's the initiative. For young men like myself, I would say you have to have an initiative to finish out the job, like complete the puzzle. You know what I'm saying? If you complete the puzzle fully and you get an image of it and everything, then you should be pretty good and steady after that. Otherwise, I would say if you're not going to have the initiative, don't go ahead and do it. It would be a waste of your time, waste of her time. So I would also say that I have made many simple 1, 2, 3 mistakes just because I just couldn't communicate. It's just a lot of miscommunication on my side, not on their side. So I would say that it's about communication. If you're going to do it, be confident, be tender-minded, just go ahead. It's like placing a sports bet, you go ahead, you look at the props, and if the props tell you one thing, then that's one thing. But if they tell you another thing, then, But I've always been, I get the money, stack your racks up, I look at the stock market. I've always been the type of person, I've never come from a money-hungry family, I've never come money-hungry, but everybody has to eat, and I believe, in my eyes, that you do what you want with your money based on how you want to do it. So I can't really control nobody based on how they want to do it. And I know this is like a big, big topic of discussion, but we're not going to go further into that. I would say that to the female that I was, getting to know, I would put it like that, my apologies for just not being the type of guy that I could have been, kind of actually dope, in my own eyes, I would say that. But it's just lack of communication and confidence level wasn't there. And like I was telling, some homeboys, I was like, it's not really I don't think it was the confidence for me. I think it was for me to finish the initiative. Go out there, say what you have to say, get it over with. It's like the initiative. And then I have other personal issues going on at the same time. So that's on top of that. So that doesn't help. And nor that is an excuse for what I did and how I did it. So we're just going to simply avoid, that. And I mean, I'm cool with people, I don't mind being friends, cordial, that doesn't really bother me or anything like that. But for young men out there, finish the puzzle. You start the puzzle, you gotta finish it, you gotta throw thresh into the fire. So I just want to get that, little segment out of here, talking about the dating industry, Even for the young ladies, I don't think that a male should have to do all the work. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we should have to do everything, but I do think it should be a 50-50 two-way street. That's how I was raised, That's how I think as husbands and wives, and, for the future references. And this is a dangerous world that we live in. So I would be very cautious in decisions that you make and how you express those decisions. Furthermore, we're going to get to the topic of discussion: the family, the friends, and the foes in relationships and bonds, disagree and disrespect. Like, how does that play in a world today, that we have? So let me tell you something. With a lot of relatives, and I agree not to call nobody out, I agree not to bash them, but to the notion, I will say this. If you've been through something with your particular spouse, and you have nieces and nephews, you have kids and things like that, I feel like you should have experience, like when handling certain situations, and when are you debating another family member or a relative. That's what I feel like. Like, if you have experience and you've been through this and you went through your own personal trials and tribulations, you should not take that out on anyone else. I'm huge on that. I'm huge on bullying. I'm huge on nitpicking, because I think it's a topic of discussion that we have to have with our family members. And a lot of times when you have problems with your family members, two words come together, but this is not true. And the two words are disagree and disrespect. And I just don't understand how you get two words that come together. So I'll tell you what disrespect means in the noun and the verb. So the noun is a lack of respect or courtesy. The verb is show a lack of respect for or try to insult. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. Now, disagree is the verb. The have or express a different opinion. You can do these two things at once, but you don't have to do those two things at once. You can disagree with a person, but I feel like you shouldn't get so disrespectful with a person. And it's like, you come into certain situations, right? And people say, well, they're like that, and this is how it is. And you know what I say in reverence? I'd be like, well, would you talk to somebody in the street like that? See, that's my issue that I have. I don't like the nitpicking. I don't like the bullying. And I don't like threats. To me, if you're going to say something, if you're going to do something, I want you to do it. I want you to prove it to me. That's how I feel about when it comes to family members. If you're going to go do something and threaten me, come on, do it. I'm all for it. And this is not like a rivalry. This is not a war. This is none of that. We just have a disagreement. And you're getting so disrespectful with me. And that is what gets under my skin. I don't really go back and forth with my uncles and aunts. I really don't have the time or day or energy to do that anymore. What I do is I elaborate my opinion to them. So that gives them time to correlate. You know what I mean by correlate? A lot of times, probably like 10 minutes, to basically understand what I just told them. That is when I go into higher curricular words and use all this aspects in life and things like that. And the argument they'll rebuttal. So this is what they'll rebuttal. I have experience. I've done this. I've done that. And I like to say, well, experience can be flawed sometimes. Not all good experience is good. It can be bad. So as we learn in the world of financing and accounting, and like I have, 3 years of experience in that now? But I'm not bragging and saying that I have those 3 years of experience to somebody who has like a year or 6 months of experience of that. I would try to help them and show them the experience rather than I shall say that I have the experience, or rather that I should not, express it. I think actions speak louder than words. I think that's like a big, big, big factor, Your actions will speak louder than your words. And another thing about disagreeing and disrespect, I just don't understand. If I disagree, it's called being disrespectful now. So I'm being disrespectful because we can't get on the same agenda. No. I don't believe in that. I believe that all family members can have a disagreement about something, but they don't have to get so nasty and disrespectful about that. That is my issue with some relatives, won't call them out. But that's my issue with them. It's about how do we express our feelings and the way we go about it. Like, that's just the main issue in a lot of families, just not myself. A lot of people have issues, and it's family issues 9 times out of 10. They say blood is thicker than water. Well, it sure don't act like that. So I try to keep it very professional, very cordial, and very active. That's how I've always been. That's how I was raised, to express one another opinions and to based on go about it the right way. Another thing about a disagreement. If I disagree, yeah, the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, but my cousin would like to say the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. He is fine with winning the Super Bowl. The disagreement is we have 2 different teams that wants to win. And with 2 different teams that want to win, it's kind of hard to agree on that same notion. But you see, we can agree to disagree that we think these opinions are going to happen, and they just most likely might not happen at all. So that's like a thing, I'm all for agree to disagree. That's another thing. Even with politics, I'm very huge on that topic. But I won't go further into that. We're going to say that for later down the line. To stop this agenda that I want to explain, in the future episodes, we're going to have future guest Jessica Viola. We're going to have Senorita St. Fard. We're going to have somebody come on here and talk about the Moors. What does the Moors mean? What is like our history, our etymology? What is basically the truth and how things are going to correlate into that. We're going to have a politics session where I'm going to invite Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, and etc. We're going to also have that. We're going to have a lot of sports debates. We're going to have the GOAT debate. We're going to have the healthcare debate. We're going to have a lot of debates based on world events also. We're also going to be talking about religious point of views and perspectives, such as Jehovah's, Christians, and the Christian denomination of Pentecostal and Baptist, and the difference between the two, because a lot of people, they don't know the difference between the two. And we'll be talking about some preachers and bishops. Probably say their names, very popular people, I would say. They have disagreements. We'll be looking into history about the church and, how Pentecostal, the Church of God in Christ, Baptist, how did that all correlate? There's a lot of history in the church that I plan to talk about. But back to family and friends. Now, to my friends that are watching, God bless you. Because here's what I'm about to say. We have a lot of disagreements, but we still get along. Sometimes they can be very disrespectful in our disagreements, and I try to avoid it the best way I can, but I'm just not going to let nobody talk to me any way I want to. I'm going to stand up for myself and say, hey, yeah, this is wrong. We got to handle this. Or this is not right, what you're doing. Or, come on, such and such. Like, even with friends, like I keep my friends at a certain distance. Sometimes you have to do that just to protect yourself, just to have guard. It's not about, this dude is so mean and he's so defense and blah, 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 blah. No. It's not that. It is a purpose of reputation and what are you known for and how are you known to get the job done and how are you known to build relationships and connections and, to succeed in life. Because you're going to fail. You're going to succeed. You're going to do good. You're going to do bad. You're going to have the ups and you're going to be down. And that is just how life works. We have to learn how to accept two instead of one. We can't just accept all the bad and then another minute we accept all the good. That's just not how life is going to work. We got to learn how to accept it all. And it comes in one. That's what we got to learn how to do. As friends, as family members, as people. That's what we have to do. So to my friends, we rarely have disagreements. We rarely get disrespectful or anything, but keep them at a certain distance. You don't tell all your business to your friends. I would suggest that because they will use it, slap it in your face. Personal things, stay with personal matters and personal close kin relatives. Close kin relatives. For a lot of people, they don't know what close kin relatives is. So I'll say this as an example. If you're married, your close kin relative is either your wife or your husband. That is your close kin relative. If you are not married, but you have children, your close kin relative is your children. If you're children and you're not married, your close kin relative is your parents, your mother, your father. Then it's your grandfather or your grandmother, whatever that is, close kin relative. So that's what close kin relatives mean. So perhaps somebody, transitions, right? And they were married. Their close kin is their spouse, then their children, then their grandchildren. Well, no, excuse me. It's their spouse, children, sisters and brothers, then it comes to grandchildren. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it works. That's how it was written in the Bible, and that's how it's supposed to be. I am not a psychologist, and I can't go into depth about that, but that's what close kin relatives mean. And family members intend, so I'm going to use this as an example. We have a disagreement because of how do I say this in words that is not so cruel? We have a disagreement in things about memories. And when I mean memories, because I feel like I'm being robbed of memories. Me and my other siblings are being robbed of memories. And if you know, you know. So you know which side I'm talking about, but I just won't, We can't really agree on that. And a lot of people is like, Sai, you don't get along. You get your parents. How you do with that? I said, I love both of my parents. I really do. But when they're wrong, you're wrong. So regardless of the fact, you can't be strong and you cannot be wrong. I feel like if you are a parent and you have kids, I am all for getting kids together, whether you're married or not. Keep the kids together. The reason why I say this and I preach this to a lot of people, it is because there is a lot of things going on in today's world where, things can happen and you just don't even know because you were not introduced. You were not meant. There was a lot of you were not. And to avoid the words you are not, you go ahead and you do what you have to do. That is what I'm so hell-bent on. I'm very hell-bent on bringing siblings together. And the reason I like that is because at least they know each other. They're not being robbed of precious memories. Life is too short, boys and girls. So we got to understand that we have to have relationships, even though we might not get along, even though we do get along, even though, certain things went down. So I would suggest, because of family and friends, keep them close. Keep friends, you more so keep at a distance. Family members, closer. Depends on, what you have. Now, when you have a falling out with a relative, and this is like I like to say this all the time, threats are so pointless. I don't do threats. Anything I say, I will do. anything, it's a proven record. I don't have to lie. That's when I would use the words, oh, experience. Yeah, now I done it. See, that's proven. The works were done. So it's not like I'm making it up now. Now I'll use that talk of experience to help my argument based on if somebody tries to question me about something. Not use it against a relative and say, I did this already, and I would use it for the greater good, not to bash or bully somebody based on this subject. See, that's my issue. It's more so the bullying, it's more so the nitpicking, it's more so how you go about it. It's all of those things that intertwine. See, that's the whole dilemma to the issue. Don't use your experience to be a bully. Use your experience to help the younger generation, to help and process the path. I'm not saying give out handouts. I'm saying, okay, you can give me this, but I'm going to show you how you do this with that. I'm going to show you, you give me $50, I'll show you how to invest that in the stock market. I'll show you how to do this to build this tower or building or condo. I'll give you the pieces and I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll see if you can do it on your own. That is how it's supposed to happen. It's all about really teamwork and collaboration, if you want to be honest. Like, that's what it's really about. But a lot of people that are family members, that are up there, that feel like that their past and their ego is so up for themselves that they cannot come down below regular levels in earth. And that is an issue that I have with a lot of people. I'll also say this. When you say to me, well, this is like it is, and denial is very, very something I don't like. I don't like liars, I don't like deniers, and I don't like slicksters. Those are like 3 things. Man, I don't like thieves neither. You can say 4. And the reason why, because you can't trust them. You have to be cautious. Anytime you have to be cautious with a relative, I would say don't be bothered with that relative. I would say love from a distance and keep your self space. I always will say that. And I'll say that because it comes to be a recycle method. And a recycle method is basically where it repeats itself. And what I mean by repeats itself, like it's continuous, it's stressful, it's aggravating, and they're very aggressive. And the way how they talk, how they express their opinion, and how things go down in actions, because action speaks louder than words. I'll also say to the notion on the table that you cannot, I'm going to say this one more time, so you can understand. You cannot use your experience to bash and bully. That is wrong. I don't think people should use experience to bash and bully. I've never said I'm in college and I know more than you. I'm not going to say that. I said I'm in college, still learning experience. Each and every day I learn. The older I get, I learn. So I would always preach that. And I'm all for that all the time. It is about agree to disagree with me. It is about, if you're going to say a word or term, express it correctly. Like, even when you have relatives. So if you guys didn't know, I'm Republican, I'm conservative. I will publicly say that. And some of my family members are Democrats and they're liberal. I have my own reasons. I used to be a Democrat. I did used to be liberal, right? So I will say this. as I transitioned to the other party, there's reasons. I didn't transition, because Donald Trump is the president and this is what it is. No. And actually, I'm a 2015 Donald Trump supporter, part of that Republican Party. So, to be honest with you, I've been a Republican for like 10 years now, since he would announce that he was running as a Republican, and since he was, So it's not like I did it because, blah, blah, blah. I come from the state of New York, the liberalist state, one of the liberals, the bluest states, Democratic county, New York City. And how do I end up being a Republican? I'll save that answer for a future episode, I'll save that answer. But as I'm trying to express my theory on this, I will express it to an extent of, when you say this man is the reason why, let's not use the government shutdown, but we can use Hamas. I mean, we don't have to use Hamas. He saved the people out of Hamas. When you say, I think it was Sutton that said, we'll use the government shutdown. He's the reason that the government shut down. When you say that, I say, well, prove it. How do you know it's him that's the reason the government shut down? To me, and I'll tell people, I think the government shut down because both Republicans and our Democrats could not agree on something for 41 days. That is why the government was shut down. I won't go into depth about it because I don't know everybody's political beliefs, and I don't want to push any offsetting buttons with nobody that I don't know yet. And plus, I want to save most of this stuff for upcoming episode in the podcast when we do discuss about politics. But back to the family member, like when you say this man is this and this man is that, and your people is doing this, your people is doing that, are you watching the news or are you actually going out and looking at it? See, that's when I ask a articulated question. And then that's like, it gives it 5 minutes of crickets where you got to think about something to come back and say to me, because now what you're doing for me, you're making it easier. Now it's just like, oh, wow, I'm going to ignore this dude. I'm not even going to say anything. I don't know what he's talking about. And that's it. See, that's my issue with some family members. Like, you can have your political belief and I can respect that. That's not a problem. But I can respect it and disagree with you and not be disrespectful. I can do all three of those things in one sentence, and that's not a problem. But don't try to disrespect me because I believe in something that you don't believe in, because about politics. And politics should not even be a sensitive topic of discussion. Reality is, if you know what law and you studied your jurisdiction, then you know what you're talking about, and you know the government, and you know the 3 executive branches, then you know what you're talking about. So I think, to be honest, it should not even be personal. It should be strict, not personal. And the reason why it shouldn't be that way is because people should know what they're talking about on both sides of the parties. Both sides. Both sides should know, what do they believe in? What do I believe in? What do we disagree? How do they disagree? How do we overcome this? Even if we don't disagree, we vote on it. We look at vetoes. We look at bills. We look at constitutional rights. So that's what politics I have. And I'm not going to have a political debate with somebody who is not going to know these things based on that. And that's why when a lot of family members come around me, they're like, oh, yeah, Sai, you're doing this. Saeed, you got this. And you blah, 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 blah. No, not me, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to debate you because I don't feel like you're capable of having a debate with me based on how you believe your politics. That's the disagreement right there. I didn't disrespect, and I said that in a respectful manner way. I disagreed and I did not disrespect. And that is the problem with a lot of family members in today's world. They will get it, and it's mostly the older class. They will get it and they'll say, yeah, this, that, the third. And they don't feel like they should acknowledge. Acknowledgement is key. Acknowledgement is everything. And I've spoken to other, I would consider these other people as family members also. And they haven't spoken to me or anything, and I don't take it personal. I try to reach out, every now and then, But you disagree with me because based off people that are in the White House. I mean, that's crazy. I will say this: when Joe Biden was in the White House, I would never bash or bully Joe Biden. That's not my agenda. I have no time for that. That's useless. Very useless to bash a president. I think the message is not going to get over just because, now that they're president. I disagree with Joe Biden's policies and some of the things he had made done. And then I agree with some of his policies, I can agree and then I can disagree and then I can agree to disagree on something. So that's another thing why I just don't even try to go bash. Even when Barack was president, I never even bashed the man. Thought he was a decent president, don't get me wrong. I think everybody's not perfect. As I keep trying to tell family members and other relatives, everybody's not perfect. People make mistakes. It's just about how do we overcome those mistakes and how do we learn and do better from those mistakes. That's what the whole, deal is to this topic of discussion. And family members and relatives, they have this thing where I don't know, it's like for Thanksgiving, it's the way you talk to people. Turn the TV up or go get the remote or switch and blah, blah, blah. It's the way how you express your opinion and how you express the language and you talk to somebody. And I would say this to family members that are older than me and maybe that are even younger, but for my cousins that are like in the same age category as me, don't get disrespectful with your aunts and uncles. Don't waste your time with that. Say what you have to say respectfully, move on. I wouldn't argue with them. What a waste of your time if you're going to go ahead and do that. I don't argue no more. I just don't have the energy to argue with somebody based on this and based on that. I really don't. So pointless, so useless. I wouldn't even waste my time. I will say defend yourself, stand up for yourself. Don't allow nobody to talk to you any type of way that you don't want them to talk to you. But you can say that in a respectful manner. You don't always have to curse or get loud with somebody. It's about tone. It's about gesture. And it's about demeanor. And based on how you go about that, to say what you have to say to defend yourself. I'm not saying, go be disrespectful. Excuse me. I'm not saying, go be disrespectful and do this and do that. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, defend yourself to an extent that you feel like, oh, wow, well, Sai is right. We gotta, say, like, this is wrong, unc or auntie or cuzzo or whatever. Like, this is wrong. This is what we have to do. This is some things that we gotta go over, And it's such a big deal in today's society. And that's why a lot of family members do not get along. They don't get along. I would say I get along with my relatives until they get under my skin. It's like a lot of things that could get under my skin. And I don't do this as a petty thing. Like I told them, I've already agreed. I'm not coming on here to bash anybody. I'm coming on here to explain to those that don't even understand that when you go through issues with someone, you should be able, and I mean this very clearly, you should be able to sit down and have a discussion. You should be able, if you have a disagreement, it's going to be fine. Don't be disrespectful. That's all I can tell you. You can disagree without being disrespectful. And you're not being disrespectful for disagreeing. That's also another thing that is so large up some people's butts. It's like they have it as disrespectful is disagree. And if you do both, you're crisscross applesauce. Like you're on the list. And that is just not how it should be. I am a strong believer. And with the words disagree and disrespect me, I'm very strong, very entitled on those two words. And another thing I would say is, it's my choice to live down south. It's my choice to go to college in South Carolina. I don't care if you're a preacher and you're trying to tell me that down south is not this. And now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to do it. And I'm still doing it as we speak, I'm still doing it. And I do it to prove that People can walk over you, but let them walk. Let them talk. Oh well. As long as they don't lay a hand on me, as long as I'm not the topic of discussion where I have to defend my reputation, oh well, it is what it is. I just feel that, if you're going to say something, you can preach something, but how do you teach it? See, that's a big issue today's world. You preach it, but are you going to teach it correctly? Because preaching it is like me just saying a whole bunch of words, blah, 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 blah. And teaching it is like, I'm showing you what I'm doing, and I'm talking as I'm doing it. And everything, I'm trying to make sure that we correlate and that we're on the same page and that we're doing the same thing and that we're have same like-minded ideas. That's what more so of teaching is in today's world with family and friends. Now, with foes, those that disagree with me. Now, this is going to be so kind of funny. So those that are in college, they're going to know this. With this, I would say, we'll say eye candy. We'll say that. With this whole eye candy thing, I could have handled it better. I will say that. And I said that in the beginning of the show. I could have handled it a lot better. I should have handled it a lot better. And my apologies. I will say this to people. You cannot like me for the decisions I made, but to disrespect me based off of those simple decisions. See, that's childish. That shows that you're a childish individual. I have not liked a lot of people for their decisions that they made, but I have never got disrespectful or tried to bash them for those decisions that they made. I disagreed, but I was not disrespectful. There's my homeboys, there's many situations where they had girls, dating industry, back on that, and they did some things, and I was like, man, that's wrong. I disagree, and I told him, hey, that's wrong. I don't agree with it. We might have argued about why it's wrong, but we never got disrespectful with one another. See, that now when you're walking around, you're saying explicit things about me, I kind of get laughed. It's like a charge to me, because that just be like, wow, you have the time and energy to waste and talk about me because of the decisions that I made. And a lot of people will say, come on, that's wrong. And I've talked to many people at CSU, saying, well, hey, this person was like this, because of that. And they're not even involved. It has them. It was nothing there. And nice young lady that I, liked, fine, very talented. I have no beef. There's no love lost, I would say. Could be friends, could be cordial, could be mutuals. I don't know. That story has to go along. That's how life, it just has to go along. I'm not going to sit and hold on to something. It's not mine. I will do this. I will if I see you, I'll probably speak, most of the time I'll say hi, wave, do that. It's not a big deal. I don't have these things that cross over my mind. And the reason that I'm mentioning this on the show is to prove that I am the bigger person. I don't have time to hold grudges or things like that. And I'm not going to be running from nobody neither also. And if you see me, I don't want you running from me neither. I don't need nobody to be afraid. Because I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go to class. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep continuously being in the business. Because as you guys know, I meant to mention this, I'm also a freelance graphic designer. You can check the website out in the link in the bio, description, whatever. I'll have it somewhere where you'll be able to see it. I have my own business. We're getting ready to start a privately traded share company. Then we're going to go publicly traded. I have a lot of things going on. I have conferences I attend to. I don't allow situations that I've dealt with a particular female or any females to dictate my life and other people and their opinions, their disrespectful opinions, to say that also. I just don't allow that to dictate my life. Because if I did, I'd probably be dead a long time ago. So that is huge, boys and girls, to not allow people to I would say you can allow them to say something. If they're not going to say it to your face, then, that's what it is. If they say it to your face, then just stand up for yourself. Don't go word for word. Say what you have to say, walk away. 9 times out of 10, it's not even worth it. It's not worth it at all. It would be a waste of your time, and it's very annoying, very repetitive. But I will say my apologies, to the lovely Icon. I couldn't, express how I felt in a better manner. That is true. Could have done that, and I will admit where I am wrong. And that's not a problem with me, because if I don't never admit when I'm wrong, then what does that make me look like? Tell me, what does that make me look like? But I wanted to clear that situation up because the people at IG, they were like the notes, Instagram notes, the story, you said this, you said that, you never did it, you never finished what you started. So that's right there. That's like that answers questions based on that particular situation. And the people on Instagram, they already know, like who I'm talking about and, how that's going to work, and, this, that, the third. But I am back in college. It's a business entrepreneurship administration majors for bachelor's degree. Most likely I will go for my doctorate degree. I probably will be finished school for another, maybe 6 or 7 years. 6 or 7 years, and that's going to be fun. The company probably will be started up by the time I graduate as an undergrad student. And then, we'll go up from there. I don't want to get totally into it, but that's what we're going to do. So, some of the upcoming guests on the show, Jessica Viola, Senorita Saint Fard. We're going to talk, I want to say his name, but I want to surprise that one. That's I can't say Uck's name, it's kind of incognito, but we're going to be talking about Janet Mumford, she is the real deal. And that episode is going to be touching base with drugs and addiction. Drugs and addiction. There's going to be we're going to have key conversations about that and how we go about that. We're going to have an episode based on politics. We're going to have an episode based on sexuality and gender. We're going to have an episode based on the church. Then we're going to have an episode based on religious beliefs. We're going to have multiple episodes based on healthcare. We're going to have episodes based on how do you take care of your body, things like that. We're going to have a lot of episodes coming out in 2026. I just don't know the date. But they will be releasing on Wednesdays, either 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on how I want to release them. And, how do we do this and how do we do that? So there's a lot of things that are going to be released in the time being. These episodes are probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour each. So I would be set a reminder, alarm clock, tell your friends, your relatives that JustSai's Open Agenda podcast just kicked off. And it's something that you don't want to miss at all. And I also will be in the future probably doing collaborations with other podcasts and other people. And I'm very huge on debates and how we handle ourselves and how the message is portrayed and, how do we go about things. And I always want people to remember a politician can tell you anything. This is the difference between a politician and a businessman. They can tell you anything. They cannot guarantee you it. And that is the stock market, basically. I can tell you the stock market is projected, but is it a guarantee? No, it's not a guarantee. But I'll tell you, it's projected. See what you're going to say, and that's how I could kind of tell my earnings per share, within particular companies such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Sony, and etc. Or how about this? Tesla. It's a big one. So I will always say that. But to end the show, I would appreciate that you you comment, you subscribe, you do what you want to do, you do it how you want to do it, and, stay tuned because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. This is JustSai, and I'm out.